It is 6 o'clock, and I'd like to call the Long Lake Township Board meeting to order, December 9th, 2014. Please join me in the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Maney. Here. Wagner. Garvin.
Here.
Rosa.
Here.
Schaub.
Here.
Leonardson.
Here.
Hoffman is here.
Okay, I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize some students. I know we have some from Central. Do we have some from West as well? West? Are they for government classes?
We are from Student Senate.
Okay. Welcome all of you to our meeting tonight.
Thank you.
First public comment. Would anyone like to speak at this time? Peter.
Thank you. Pete Zernhout, Long Lake Peninsula Outer Drive. Just a couple of comments on under new business. One is you have a franchise ordinance that you're looking at with Consumers Power.
Yes.
Comment I would make, I noticed it doesn't contain any monetary consideration to the township, and I would encourage negotiating for that. At least, and I see there's an invoice from Consumers for electric lights to the township for the street lights. Negotiate some kind of a deal of cutting the rates. The township should get something for a franchise agreement. So that's the one comment. The other thing was more of a question. I noticed this FOIA policy, it says reestablishing. Had it ceased to exist or something?
No, it just had not been reviewed for some time.
Oh, okay, okay.
And it was brought to light that we needed to.
Oh, okay, so it's just updating.
It's just updating.
Okay, okay,
Yes.
I understood that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anyone else for public comment? If not, we will move on to our consent calendar.
On the consent calendar is the Township Board minutes of November 13th, regular meeting, Treasurer's report dated October 31st, 2014, Zoning Department report, Grand Traverse County Road Commission report, Grand Traverse Fire report, Grand Traverse County Sheriff's Department planners report, and correspondence. Does anyone wish to have any of those items pulled for further board discussion?
Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar? So been moved by Maney.
No support.
Supported by Schaub. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Item 6 is approval or amendment to the agenda. I have one item to remove, and that would be under special reports. Matt McDonough was not able to be here tonight. Would like to come in January, so I would like that removed. Other than that, I have no changes. Is there a motion to approve the agenda with that change?
Madam Chairman, also move.
Lenderson? Support. Support by Maney. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Item 7, conflict of interest statement. Is there anything on the agenda that is a conflict of interest with any of the board members? Hearing none, we will move on to our second public comment. Anyone like to speak at this time? Yes, Mark?
I will go on reports if that's all right.
I'm sorry?
I will go on the reports if that's all right.
Okay, I should probably have added you.
I probably should have raised my hand earlier.
You probably should speak.
It'll
Why
be
don't you
very
do,
brief.
I would rather you speak under public comment then, because I didn't change the
Okay,
agenda to
yep,
accommodate
okay.
that.
Mark McKellar with the Grand Traverse County Road Commission. It looks like we did approve our budget for this upcoming year. It's a balanced budget, and it's the largest budget in the history of the Road Commission. Our millage, as you know, garners about $3.5 million. We get about $3 million of that at the Road Commission. Our proposed budget covers about $9.5 million of road projects. So people are like, how are you doing that? Very simply, is we've leveraged the money that we received in the millage with state and federal funds and doubled the amount of roads that we're going to be able to affect And we're cutting where we can and applying it into the road system where we can. And so we have had some influx of revenues from the state of Michigan. And as you know, it's still being kicked around down in the sandbox in Lansing. But we're prepared with ready-to-go projects that we have on the shelf through 2017. So we're hoping to do a tremendous amount of lane miles and a lot of major upgrades. Also, our project list is done, and you're welcome to review that if you'd like. I believe it's on the website. If not, you can contact our office and we'll give you the list. And Lafreniere Road will be done this year. It's going to be a 3-part project. It'll start right away in the spring. I would highly recommend that if you can avoid it during that time, I would. It's going to be a 1-lane road, but it's going to be pretty tricky, and it's really, the 1-lane road is to allow people to have access to the health department and the high-density housing units that are back in there. So if you can avoid that thoroughfare at that time, do so. Other than that, I was reappointed for a term of 6 years on the Road Commission last Wednesday, and so that's, I think, is a good thing. And then lastly, it's been a real honor to represent the Road Commission to your board, to you folks, this last 4 years. It looks like we're moving on to another township if everything works out as planned. So this very well may be my last meeting in front of you, and I'm sure one of our other commissioners will do a great job because your guys are great to work with. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here for us. I just might add under public comment that we just found out today that from the DNR, they are recommending approval for our Cedar Run Creek parking area west end. So not a lot of particulars, but recommending for approval. I'm hoping that that follows through. So that will be coming hopefully in the spring if it all goes well. Any other public comment? Okay, we will move on to special reports. And we have Trina and Mary here from Dennis Bartlett to go over our audit. If you would like, I'm sorry, the chairs need to maybe be pulled together.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Trina Edwards, and I'm going to take a few minutes going over the financial results, which are in the larger bound book. And then Mary will look at the audit-related communications letter with you. So if you turn to the first page right after the contents, it'll say Management Discussion and Analysis Unaudited at the top. And this is a summary of the audit results for the year, and it's prepared by management of the township with their input. And so this gives you a nice little synopsis of what happened in the township during the year. Before we start going through the information, I will tell you that we issued a clean or an unmodified opinion. So that's the highest level of assurance that we can give you as auditors. And that means we found that everything was fairly presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. So under the financial highlight sections, just to go over those bullets and information here, property taxes in the township for the year ended June 30th, 2014 increased by about $15,000 related to increases in taxable values. The net position or the equity of the township, the governmental activities increased by $557,000. However, the unrestricted portion that's available for general operations decreased by $74,000. The total net position increased by $567,000 or 9.1%. And that increase was made up of increases in the governmental activities, $556,905. And the business type activities increased by $10,003. The business type activities is primarily your Manhattan duplex, and everything else other than trust and agency funds are in your governmental net position. Total revenues and transfers for the year were $1,913,000. Total expenses were $1,346,000. And the general fund experienced an increase of $305,992, resulting in year-end fund balance of $1,973,105. And if you turn to the next page, This gives you a further breakdown of your statement of net position or your balance sheet at June 30th, 2014. And it's broken down between, again, governmental activities and business type activities for 2014 and 2013. And I'll concentrate on the far right columns, which is the total for the township as a whole. So the total assets were $7,187,000. Of those assets, $4,169,000 are capital assets, which is the buildings, improvements, equipment. So it's all sort of non-liquid items. And then the current assets were $3,017,919, and that includes cash and receivables and other assets. The total liabilities were $388,000. You'll see last year they were $917,695, and that's because the township was able to accelerate payment on some of your bonds. So you had a bond payment due of $40,000, but you paid $485,000 this year. So that saved the township some interest money over time to pay that early. So of the total liabilities, the long-term debt or the primarily the capital improvement bonds are $327,275 of that total. And so that leaves net position of $6,799,368, and that is broken down again with the portion that's invested in your capital assets, less any debt on those assets, and that's $3,824,565. And then there's some restricted money of $484,912, and that's for items that are in your special revenue funds, such as your fire and safety and your natural areas money that is restricted for that purpose. The debt service fund had $105,598, and again, that's restricted to be used to pay off debt. And so that left unrestricted net position of $2,385,293. Any questions on that? No? And then if you'll turn to the next page again, this is the statement of activities. And again, I'll focus on the far right column, the total township for 2014 versus 2013. Total revenues are $1,913,438. That is up from last year. The main increase was in the capital grants and contributions. You'll see $40,831 this year versus nothing last year. And those were donations for the Natural Areas Millage Fund, private donations. Under program expenses, the total this year is $1,346,530, which is fairly consistent with last year. And so that left a net increase in net position this year of $567,000. And then if you'll turn to page 5, so 2 pages back, I just wanted to highlight under the economic factors in next year's budgets that in 2014-2015, which is the year you're in right now, the township has budgeted general fund revenues equal to expenditures. And also the overall, the expenditures have increased about $340,000 related to some additional projects that the township is doing in 2014-2015. And the last sentence there just states that the township has a strong commitment to maintain a balanced budget, so you're spending more, but you're also anticipating taking more money in order to fund those projects. Is there any questions on what I've gone over or any of the financial results? No? Okay. I'll let Mary go over the letter.
Okay, and then you should have in your packet a letter titled Audit-Related Communications, and I'll just highlight the non-boilerplate parts of this letter. The first couple points, they start at the bottom of page 1, and they're the same that have been communicated in the past. The first point is segregation of duties, and we're just reminding you that because of the limited number of people you have performing accounting functions, there's not an ideal segregation of duties. The township could hire extra people to do that, but typically the added cost isn't beneficial. So that's just letting you know that there is an inadequate segregation of duties, and that's not uncommon for most governmental units your size. At the top of page 2, again, regarding preparation of the financial statements, we've prepared the financial statements from the audited accounting records of the township, and because we prepare them, we can't be part of your accounting system, and so we're just letting you know that you're relying on us to prepare the financial statements. And again, that isn't uncommon for us to help or prepare the financial statements for clients. Probably at a minimum, 90% of our clients, we assist them with the preparation of the financial statements. On the bottom of page 2, there's just some disclosures about accounting estimates and financial statement disclosures, and we've just noted the bottom 1/3 of this page that estimated amount of depreciation is based on the township's estimated useful life of your capital assets. So your building's typically around 40 years. Equipment could be between 5 and 10, depending what the equipment is. So that's an estimate that is in the financial statements. And then also there's a management's estimate of future other post-employment benefits for retiree health insurance is based on an actuarial report, which is updated every 3 years, which is in accordance with accounting standards. And then we've noted that the particularly sensitive financial statement disclosures, again, has to do with the other post-employment benefits in Note M to the financial statements. On page 3, we noted that we didn't have any significant difficulties in dealing with management performing and completing the audit. We are required to disclose corrected and uncorrected misstatements. And there's a list here of corrected misstatements. Most of these are cash to accrual entries. So every year you don't get your state shared you have state shared revenue that was earned during the year, but you don't receive it till after year end. So that's an entry we always make as part of the audit. And then typically we have to reverse the entry that we gave you the prior year to record the receivable that was due at the beginning of the year. So most of these are receivables, payroll accruals. Those are accrual type entries. We didn't have any disagreements with management, so that's a good thing. And I think everything else is pretty much boilerplate. There is a new standard regarding, it's in the middle of page 4, in government combinations and disposals of government operations. This will only affect the township if you decided, if there was some type of, you merged in with somebody or you acquired some other assets in an acquisition. So that's a new standard, but again, it's effective for the fiscal year that you're in now, but will probably have little if no effect on the township. Are there any questions on this letter? We're getting faster at this.
We appreciate working with you.
Thank you.
And Trish and Carol are appreciative of your work.
Yeah, we are.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Sir, just reading that, thank you.
They may. Do you have extra copies of the report?
You could see me and I can get it for you.
I don't know, do you post yours on your website?
We haven't been.
Oh, I just had a township request,
Oh.
a PDF today so they
Oh.
could post on there, so.
It's always available in the so thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks,
very
Elaine.
much. Commissioner Wheelock is here for a report from the County Commission.
I'm going to do this from up here since my voice isn't working very well.
It's been a cold one.
Good evening. As everyone knows, the county year is winding down. Our new fiscal year starts January 1st. We have passed the 2015 budget, It is a balanced budget. We cut well over $700,000 of the projected fund balance out of the budget that was originally proposed by the county administrator. Some of that money will be offset by the 911 millage. That millage will bring in $620,000 approximately, give or take, annually. The county board has a committee reviewing the infrastructure needs of central dispatch. We have committed to bond that so as that the equipment can be bought up front rather than wait and try to buy, $200,000-300,000 of it a year. We're going to bond that over the 6-year period that the millage was passed for, so as that the equipment can be purchased and be installed up front. We're not sure yet whether we're going to borrow the money from ourselves or whether we're going to go to the commercial market for that. It's going to depend on where the interest rates and what the dollar amount comes in at to do that. But the big important piece was we're going to get the equipment now that we need to do the upgrades to central dispatch. Other things that are moving on, as you are aware, we will have 4 new county commissioners January 1. I believe all 4 of them attended new commissioner training in Gaylord last week put on by the Michigan Association of Counties and Michigan State University Extension. It's a very good program. I've attended it a couple times myself over the years. I did not take time to attend it this year. We're evaluating right now, starting to evaluate, and whether or not it'll happen or not before January 1st, all of the appointments that we send commissioners to. We heard during the budget discussion that people thought that the commissioners may be getting paid too much, and maybe our budget center should be cut also. Well, one of the ways that we can cut our budget or at least decrease our budget is by reducing the number of committees that we're assigning commissioners to, because it immediately reduces per diems and mileages. So some of us are working with a group right now to evaluate which of those committees are statutory, that we have to have a commissioner sitting on, and which of them are voluntary, that we choose not to. And there may still be some of them that we choose to continue to be on, even though we may not statutorily be there. But, the other factor, at least from my perspective, which, in my mind isn't necessarily a bad thing, we're now going to have 6 county commissioners that have real jobs. So, all of a sudden, those middle of the day meetings that take 3-4 hours become more of a hardship than everyone else. And are they truly important, or is there something that we should be doing different? I have proposed that we go from 4 committee meetings, one every Wednesday night, to 2 full Board of Commissioner meetings a month. And all decisions made at the Board of Commissioners meeting are final that way. You don't have the Public Health and Safety Committee reviews all of this information and then makes recommendation at the end of the month for the Board of Commissioners to have discussion and ratify it again. Whether it be on a consent calendar or otherwise, we still end up with time involved in it. We've proposed this in the past, or I've proposed this in the past, and it didn't get with a lot of support because there were individuals that were concerned about 3 to 4 hour meetings. In my world, I can sit here 2 nights a month for 4 hours a lot easier than I can do an hour and a half 4 different times a month. And it reduces the per diems and it reduces the mileage. There will be a savings to the people. Mark talked about that he was recently reappointed to the Road Commission. I would acknowledge that we had a number of qualified candidates. Pete Zernhelt was there and applied for that position and interviewed also. Those appointments, along with a number of others, will become effective January 1. And there's still some different discussions going on about some of the appointments that we made that some commissioners aren't happy with, and we may reconsider some of them along the way. But I'm pretty confident that Mark's position is secure anyway. So Other than that, I don't think I have too much else to add. If anyone has any questions for me tonight.
Any questions, Lisa?
Could you maybe expand on what's happening with the soil erosion inspector's position? I'm just kind of catching dribs and drabs from different groups,
Well,
but I don't really
and-
know what the whole story is, to be honest with this.
I hate to use the term knee-jerk reaction, but somehow or another, I'm not sure that it wasn't. In an attempt to find ways to diminish the budget, it was proposed to the commissioners that we could contract for the soil erosion inspections, and that there are, I don't remember what the number is, 40, 46, 48 qualified certified inspectors that live within Grand Traverse County that are qualified to do the inspections. And the other counties are contracting for those inspections, and they can do it for about $28 an hour. Well, this time of the year, as we can all guess, we're not doing very many soil erosion inspections. However, the way the current system is, we're paying 2 county inspectors 20 hours a week. So, there is the potential for some savings if we go to a contract basis. What has to be reviewed, and what, we've asked staff to review right now is, number one, how do we put in place a process for this? Because even besides the inspections, you still have to do the plan reviews and all of those kind of issues, as we all know. Those may come to us, in January, even though there's not going to be dirt moved until April or May. So, we have to put in place a system by which we can do this and develop a contract and a job description of what we're asking for, and go out and receive bids for inspectors. The decision, the vote was taken to look at the possibility of hiring contract inspectors. Other counties around us do all of their inspections by contract. Whether it be building, whether it be soil erosion or health department, they're all done by contract. They don't have staff. Of course, the situation is in our operation, those are union inspectors. Many of them have longevity, they have defined benefit programs, they have health insurance benefits, all of which cost the county a lot of money. There's a lot of overhead and costs in many of our employees. And the other piece of that is there's a legacy cost in that people in that department who have left county employment are still deriving benefit, because they are under a retirement program. Maureen Kennedy, who we all know well, is drawing a county, or has eligible, she's probably not drawing it now because I don't think she's old enough, but she will, at the point that she retires permanently, she will be eligible to draw from a defined benefit program, benefits that are charged back to the soil erosion department. And that's a legacy cost and an overhead cost that's, pretty insurmountable. The Grand Traverse County's unfunded liability for defined benefit is about $49 million. That's a lot of money. It's not pocket change. And what's happened along the way too is that MERS, the retirement agency, has determined that what they wanted Grand Traverse County, as we all know with our retirement programs, usually there's a 20 to 30 year apportionment. What MERS has done, because we closed our defined benefit program in 2001, they have accelerated our payback. So we're at a point right now where we're paying it 14 years. We're supposed to have it all paid off in 14 years, and they're accelerating it 2 years to 1. So in 2015, our payback is now at 12 years instead of 14 years. So, what was 30 years ago in 2000, or 30 years to pay it back in 2001, is now down to 14 years, and it'll soon be 12. You know, so all of a sudden, every year, your defined benefit payback to the organization goes up by, you know, about $1.8 million next year. You know, that's a lot of money. And, you know, the other thing is they draw their whole scales of how much you're going to pay based on the fact that they're going to get an 8% return on their money. Well, as we all know, over the last 5 or 6 years, none of us have seen 8% on our money. So all of a sudden, even though you paid the $1.8 million that they said you had to have, they didn't get 8% on their money. So now you're another $400,000 in the hole. So, you know, there's lots of different ways to look at that. You know, I've spoke to you before about my support of the idea of doing a pension bond where we can have a flat payment. You know, if we can bite the bullet for 13 more years, we'll be over the top, and then it'll be going down, and then we're good. But it's whether, you know, how many services we can continue to cut over the next 13 years before we do that. I would note that one thing that changed in the 2015 budget is the copay by the townships that have community policing officers. That went up 5%. We've heard from some of the townships they're not real happy about that. But I will note that even with the 5% increase, the county is subsidizing, you know, and I use the term subsidizing. Glenn Lyle got really excited when I used that terminology. But the fact is the county is funding about $30,000 of that position annually. That being wages, training, benefits, car, fuel, and all those kind of things. Which means in Garfield Township, the general taxpayers of Grand Traverse County are subsidizing the police force in Garfield Township to the tune of about $440,000 a year. You know, the argument that I made to Chuck Corn is if a community of his size wanted a 20-man police force, they would be spending a lot more money than they're paying now, even with the 5%. You know, if we want to look at what the city of Traverse City pays for a police force, and they're looking at a population of less than Garfield Township. They're looking at an equalized value less than Garfield Township, and a geographical area that's about 10% of the geographics of Garfield Township, but it's costing them about 10 times as much money. So, you know, that's a discussion that will continue, and I assume after the new board is seated in January, one of the discussions will be reopening the contract for the community police officers. Some of the early contracts, Garfield, East Bay, and Peninsula, I believe, are what they call greenfield contracts. They automatically renew unless they're notified in writing to reopen the contracts. You know, and those contracts have no provision in them for a fee increase. So, you know, but the original writing was that the townships were paying the full cost. Well, when those contracts were entered into back in, when did the COPS grants come through here? The late 80s, mid to late 80s, you know, probably about that. And almost all of these community police officers started as COPS grants. You know, the federal government paid 100% for the first year, 75% the second year, 50% the third year, 25% the fourth year. And then the townships were expected to pick it up. And that's the way those contracts were drawn. The problem is they didn't keep up with inflation. They didn't keep up with anything else. And the most important piece that, you know, like all other labor costs, they didn't keep up with healthcare costs. You know, Grand Traverse County's seen a 21% increase of what it costs for health insurance in 2014, and we've seen a 17% increase in 2015. And that is including the fact that we made significant changes to the plan as to what the co-pays were that all the county employees are paying, and the deductibles. but we still seen a 17% increase in cost on our 550 employees. That get through your answer? Kind of a roundabout way.
Start on soil erosion.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. It's just the overhead cost. I've gotten a memo from Bruce Ramey asking that we not make any changes or make any attempts to lay off the 2 existing inspectors until a plan is in place to handle it, and I believe that the board will support that program tomorrow night.
That makes sense.
It makes sense that we can't get rid of a program that's working until we have something in place to replace it with. But whether it will save us money, I don't know. We entered into a contract for a company to mow the grass. At the county parks. This gentleman, this company quoted mowing all of the parks, including the Civic Center, Maple Bay, all 13 properties, and entered a bid for $19,000 annually. I'm not sure he can buy mower blades and fuel for $19,000. But it's a significant savings over what we're currently paying. So how do you not at least look at it and hope that the guy can hold up to his word and actually fulfill the contract?
Are there any other questions from Sunny?
All right, if it's okay with everyone else, I'm going to go back to work. Thanks.
Thank you, Sam. Okay, well.
Item D is assessor's report. I asked Angela to put together a special assessor's report. In a couple of the previous reports, if you remember, she'd been talking about the AMAR review, which is a state review, which is audit of minimum assessing requirements. And the state of Michigan is going through every county and every township and doing this review. And she ended up with a 95%, which she was very happy with. There were a couple areas that she had to get some more information back to them. One was on 15 parcels because she didn't have an exact land value determination reason. 15 parcels out of 4,700 is not too bad. So, and then also the FOIA policy that we have was, had not been reviewed for a long time, so that spurred us to pull that out and review that and make a few adjustments on that, which you have in your packet tonight for approval of. So I just wanted her to put down what she had done and for you to review, and just want to thank Angela for doing a good job and being conscientious in her work for us. Item E is our Station 10 report, and John reports that we had 25 runs in November. The breakdown is 17 medical, 4 fire, 3 PIAs, and 1 PDA.
And they got their new auto compression device.
Right, that they demonstrated last month to us, which was very interesting. And I know at the Santa activity that they had on Sunday, they had that and they were showing people and they were very interested in it, so it went over very well. We have no pending business, so we will move on to new business. The first item is the proposed road name, Blue Coral Drive. This has been approved at the Geographic Information Systems at the county, and it is a private street name for ingress and egress. This is off of Gray Road, and but they do need approval from the township to approve that road, and then we will get that information back to them. Blue Coral Drive. I'm not sure where they came up with that, but there's no other Blue Coral Drive in Grand Traverse County, so that's where they go by. But I will need a motion to approve that.
I will make a motion to approve the proposed road name, Blue Coral Drive.
Wagner,
Support.
support by Sean. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Item B is Consumers Energy Franchise Ordinance. Dr. Young is here if he'd like to come up and answer any questions that we might have. It is ordinance number 139. We have had this reviewed by Jim Young. And I know that Peter has a concern about monies and that type of thing. I will just mention that they do pay personal property tax, which comes back to us. We also have the Metro Fund, which monies come back to the township. So those are two areas that we do get some reimbursement back. So do you want to explain anything, or how would you like to go about it?
Sure, I can just quickly, this is a boilerplate template that we use with hundreds and hundreds of townships across and other municipalities across the state. Per your legal, we did make one change to this, and that is we typically do a 30-year agreement. This is a 15-year agreement. I would note section 4 in terms of we do hold harmless the township, and we will defend the township and pay legal fees and any costs that may arise from neglect, damage, or construction issues that may arise throughout the years of this agreement. As Karen mentioned, we do pay personal property tax to this township. We will continue to pay personal property tax to this township. We were not included in the personal property tax change that was just voted on by the public. So you will continue to see that from us as we move forward. And you will continue to see us in regards to providing updated equipment throughout the township as needed. We do test poles regularly, and we do maintenance on lines and other equipment regularly throughout and check that. I would point out one other thing, and that is it was brought up about rates. Rates are set by the Michigan Public Service Commission. We cannot legally negotiate rates with any individual, any township, or any community developer within the guidelines of the Michigan Public Service Commission rules and regulations, which are set by the state.
Are there any questions from the board members? If there are no questions, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Wagner?
Support.
Garvin? Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Henderson,
Yeah.
Wagner,
Yes.
Maney, Garvin,
Yes.
Rosa,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Hoffman votes yes.
Is carried, and we'll see you tomorrow for the
Yep.
signatures. Thank you very much, Doug. Item C is our resolution reestablishing policy for our Freedom of Information Act requests. We reviewed this extensively with our attorney and made a few changes, not many in this. We have a few more changes in our fee schedule, and these are two separate resolutions and two separate bits of paperwork, because if we wanted to change the fee schedule, then we don't have to go back and change the whole thing. So this is the policy, then we have the fee schedule that is attached, but a separate resolution for that, so.
And Brian Graham went over this quite extensively.
Right, Brian is very good at this type of thing, so if you've had a chance to read it, are there any questions that you might have? I mean, it's very similar to what we had.
It's just updated a bit. Our last policy, I think, was 2007. So there were a few new things that needed to be included that weren't before.
The only question I had was why you had to drill down in that level of detail on the fees, but you just answered that, so.
Yeah.
So you need a motion to, the first one is resolution to reestablish policy of Freedom of Information Act request. Resolution number 12-14/15-5.
is correct.
Support.
Garland and Wagner. Okay, is there further discussion? Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Schwab.
Yes.
Rosa.
Yes.
Garvin.
Yes.
Maney. Wagner.
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes.
Hoffman votes yes.
Motion is carried. We'll move on to the fee schedule, and we did make some changes on the fee schedule. And Brian was pretty adamant that we changed some of these. We always had charged 25 cents a copy, and so that's been changed. Basically, it's 15 cents now. Being very specific on what does it actually cost us to make a copy, because we cannot make money on this, so we're trying
Trying to
to,
figure out the wage of the lowest paid person that is capable of producing the request. That's not always the lowest paid person. Also the toner, the paper, all that kind of
the
stuff.
wear and
So-
tear on the machine and all of that. So we feel comfortable that 15 cents we can come up with per copy.
Is not exorbitant.
I noticed there was discussion there about, like standing requests for any agendas or meeting packets. How many of those do we have, if any? I mean, I know from time to time we get them for specific projects, or
We have a list
We have a list that get agendas specifically,
or packets.
and those are emailed, those are emailed.
Right.
So that's easy.
So I don't know if it was like, burden and stuff.
No, not necessarily, because Leslie does that, she has a list, just sends them on.
I mean, it's time. If
Yeah.
it's her time, it depends, she has to scan it and get it to them, but. And she has to take all the staples out of all the paper packets to scan them.
Any other questions regarding the fee schedule?
But you would have to do that to make copies too, right? Right, I mean, you
Yeah,
got to do that
yes,
too. so,
definitely,
Right?
yeah, exactly. Motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 12-14/15-6.
Wagner? Anderson, finally got you in there.
What is his name?
Anderson supported. Further discussion. Roll call, please.
Wagner,
Yes.
Maney, Garvin,
Yes.
Rosa,
Yes.
Schwab,
Yes.
Hoffman votes yes. Livingston.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Last item under new business is Grand Traverse Rural Fire proposed budget. This is a draft budget. I'm bringing this to you tonight. I just need some guidance from you as to how I should proceed. I am on the budget committee. And when we met the last time, and again, this is draft, we're gonna be meeting again in a couple days. When we got together, this was put together, and we are, our expenditures are more than our revenues this year. We've always, been able to balance this. And if we leave things the way they are, we're $90,000 short. There's a couple things that we can do. We can dip into our fund balance, which we have sitting in 3 different banks, 100,000 in each bank. We have 300,000 specifically fund balance, plus there's usually a carryover from the last year. We did go back and we projected some cuts. We can probably cut about 52,000 out of the budget, still leaves a shortfall. Again, we can dip in, or the suggestion was that we change the millage from 0.72 to 0.75. Now, for us, that's pretty significant because of what we're paying in now. The significance of even leaving it the way it is at the 0.72, we'll be paying another $16,000 this year into rural fire. If it gets changed to 0.75, we'll be paying $30,000 more. So I have a concern about that, but I wanted to bring it to you to get some feedback and some help with making some decisions. If I have to vote no, I vote no, but I want to know where you would like me to go with this. So I've given you a copy of the budget, and sometimes that's a little hard to, understand, but hopefully with my explanation, that will help.
We talked about kind of 52,000, I see. Is that,
Actually, Chief Weber has proposed an assistant, a deputy, and it probably is needed, but we decided that, number one, this person wouldn't start January 1 and probably won't start for a number of months. We said, let's review it in June and see how he's doing, does he still need all that help? So we cut half of that wage and half of the insurance and half of all that. We also cut the station rentals. We have in there $40,000. There's 5 stations, so we've been getting so much a quarter. We cut that in half, which again doesn't help us. But we also then said the townships without stations, they need to maybe contribute to that because they don't have the expense that we have. So we've asked them to put some money in the budget towards, the station rentals of the other stations, because we cover them, but they don't have the expense that we have. So with all of that, we cut that about 52, and but we still have a remaining 38,000 shortfall. So
I would rather see them dip into fund balance if they have $300,000 sitting in banks until they see how they get through this next time frame. Then go ahead and raise it up. And for us, like you said, that's $30,000 more. We're currently paying, what percentage would you say?
we are of the actual of the township contributions, we're paying about 39.5%.
Yeah.
Already.
So we're paying a big chunk of that, so.
A big chunk of the fund balance, $300,000 came from us, so
Right.
that's totally, I totally agree with that.
I
We should
guess
take that.
it would be different if we've been dipping into that, but it's been sitting there for a very long time, and we've been able to not dip into it. And if we can cut the 52, that leaves 38, so it's not a bunch to dip into, but I just needed to know how you felt about raising that knowledge or dipping
I
into
totally
that.
not support raising.
Okay,
I would be against that as well.
okay, that's what I
I mean,
needed
the
to.
burden needs to be distributed
Yeah.
evenly a little more.
And like Trish said, we put a good chunk of that 300,000 probably that's sitting in the bank, we've contributed to that already.
So that's what I needed to know, so that I need to know how to handle this when I get to it.
I think it should come out of fund balance also.
Okay.
But I guess my next question is, and being I'm not an accountant, but if you have a budget to go by, who is watching to see that you don't go over the budget? I know in my own budget, you don't go over the budget because
It's the board's responsibility. It's the Rural Fire Board's responsibility to see that nothing, but when you start out with, you're already in the red. So this is the new budget. We start January 1. We have to vote on that in December. So that's why we're trying to figure out what else can we cut, or how do we handle this shortfall.
Well, on this particular year, I think we talked a little bit about some of the budget items that we're looking at, and purchasing a vehicle is not something that's going to happen every year. So
Correct.
if we raise that millage amount, that's going to happen every year. They're probably
Right.
not going to bring it backwards next year. So if they take it from the 300,000 and purchase the vehicle or whatever they're going to do, then the next year they're not going to need that upfront money to purchase the vehicle. Then maybe they can put some back into the fund balance.
The other thing with that is that vehicle is being purchased out of public improvement, because we've been putting money in there. So that's basically over and above what the townships contribute, but I understand what you're saying.
Right.
And,
There's
yes.
some of the things that
Yes.
they're proposing for this
Yes.
year's budget that won't happen every year
That-
in the
that
future.
is
So
correct.
that, if we just, this one time to get over this hurdle, take 38,000 out of 300,000, it's not
Yeah.
a huge chunk. is.
Okay.
I would like to make a motion that the board does not support raising the millage, but would support taking the 38,000 shortfall of the fund balance.
Go ahead and make the adjustments that we have already, the budget committee have already talked about, and taking the balance of that out of the fund balance. Okay, that's a motion by Mayne.
I'll support that.
Anderson, is there further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. That gives me some direction. Not acting on my own on this one. Okay, moving on to payment of bills. Check register report.
This check register covers checks 32570 through 32597 in the amount of $9,953.37. Did any of you, after you reviewed that, have any idea, questions or concerns?
There's a charge in there for something, for legal fees for a handbook prep. You know, exchange what that is.
It's our employee handbook.
We are working on to update that as well. We haven't got to the point of presenting it to you, but we're working on it.
Thank you.
Make a motion to pay the check register report, check number 32,570 to 32,597, total of $9,953.37.
Garvin,
I'll support.
supported by Shaw. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Leonardson,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Mayne,
Yes.
Garvin,
Yes.
Rosa,
Yes,
Shaw,
Yes.
Hoffman votes yes.
motion is carried.
Okay, then the vendor approval summary report. Are there any questions on there that I might answer for you? That covers checks 32598 through 32625 in the amount of $30,106.58 or 68. Mine's blurred. 68. Mine's got a line through it.
106.68.
What was the snow blowing, south on
Yes, that's for the natural area,
Parking lot.
right? South on Lake that goes back to our natural area where we have several hundred acres. There's a parking lot there. We can go up and park.
Is that mine? Oh, okay, I know what you're talking about.
And we cannot do that with our plow
It's too
because
big
of,
to get,
because
that's a
of the
small.
area.
Yeah, I know what
There's
you're
no
talking
place to
about. Yeah,
push the
that's
snow.
Really small.
Yeah, we've done that for the last few years.
Okay.
Mhm. Any other questions? Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the vendor approval summary report. Where's my check?
Get ready to go with that.
32598 through 32625.
Yeah, make it
For the amount of $30,106.68.
Job? Is there support?
Support.
Leonardson? Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Shaw,
Yes.
Rosa,
Yes.
Garvin,
Yes.
Mayne,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Leonardson,
Yes.
Hoffman votes yes.
Motion is carried, and we are adjourned at 6:59. Thank you all. Thank you.